happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. Welcome to another episode of Tilly's in a Bottle. My name's Gabriel. It took a fair bit of work, and it took me a long time to do it, but the Reid 2B surface grinder is finally set up. We've got a good dress on the Magchuck, and we're getting good results. Let's see how I got that done. Well, it took a while, but I'm finally ready to dress the Magchuck. There were a couple of things that I wanted to straighten out before I thought I was ready. One of them was changing the oil on the ways. Originally I had too heavy of an oil. I had 50 weight, and I took it all off, cleaned it out, and changed it to 20 weight and added in some transmission fluid. That came highly recommended. I also have the right wheel on now. I think this is just what we need. This is a 46i with a very open structure. I didn't have a sharp diamond to dress the wheel with, so I have some new diamond dressers, and I made a little block to hold it to. I didn't have a squeegee, so I made one. This was fun. This was the most fun I've had all day, at least. And I did my homework too a little bit. I read a lot of tips on dressing the Magchuck and how not to waste a lot of time and having to go back and forth or take too much off or just do it incorrectly one way or another. And I believe the machine is now all set up to get that done. Before I hit play on the camera, I would let the machine just cycle back and forth for about 15 minutes to let the oil warm up or something like that. And I ran coolant on the Magchuck while it was doing that too. Not so fast. Wouldn't it be good to know in what condition the Magchuck is in before we do anything to it? What I have here are what I'm going to call gauge buttons. They're not made in any way to gauge makers' tolerances, and I'm going to grind on them now, so you wouldn't do that with a gauge. Maybe someone can come up with a better name for them. We're back at the plate, and I gotta say, these little gauge buttons are already doing their job. What I'm noticing is that when I ground them all together as one thing just then, I had all the letters facing me, and the high spot on them is where the letter is, and it sort of drops off as you go away from the letter. Not just that, but I've noticed that it drops off left to right, where there's the gauge block at 640, and it's right there on 0. What I'm noticing is the high spot on each of these, and this is letter A, it gets as high as about 4 thousandths over 640, and then each button after that gets less and less high. Like here's letter B, this gets up to 2/10 over 640. Here's C, this gets to about 1/10 over 640. Letter D, and so on and so on. Letter D barely gets above 640, and letter E does not even get up to 640, appears to be 3/10 under. I know that this half of the Magchuck is higher than this half because usually you'll have your work on this side and guys are dragging the part off, and that's just where all the work is done anyway. So this side must be far less ground down a little bit. So I'm going to touch off on this side, and little by little we'll work our way across the Magchuck and see how far out we are, and then, grind it all flat. So I'm going to let that just keep on running for a while. I'll keep an eye on it and make sure that any of the coolant is not going where it shouldn't go, and that nothing else bad happens. I'll bring you back when we're quite a ways towards being finished. I'm about ready to dress the wheel, and before I do that, I'm going to put this Steve Barton popsicle stick against the wheel and get some of the metal that's embedded out of there. This might be the last finishing pass now. I'm getting somewhat of a consistent spark across the whole plate, and I'm going to feed in 1/10,000, and I'm on to using just manual feed and not power feed. It kind of kicks the machine around at the start and stop of it, and so now that we're finishing, I don't want any of that anymore. Alright, here we go. Right now I'm getting nothing. Oh, there was just a little bit of a spark at the end. And I'm advancing the table on both strokes because we're really just sparking out. Okay, I'm going to call that done. I'll let the wheel just spin out all that coolant that it might have soaked up just for like a minute or so. And then I'm going to stone the table and do a little test. There are a couple of things about the dressing job I just did that I can say are kind of limiting to my results right out of the gate. The first of them is that I didn't remove this Magchuck and grind the bottom of the top of the table, and then flip the Magchuck over, put it on that, and then grind the base of the Magchuck before I did any of this. Who knows how much rust is underneath this Magchuck. Since I didn't move the Magchuck at all, the most I could have gotten was this sort of a 6-inch area, and I can't even get that much because of the trowel that I made sticks out over the table a little bit. I can't get this last little 7/16 of an inch ground either. The way the Magchuck is right now is exactly how it was when I got the machine. They've milled this section of the Magchuck down, and I can see why they might have done that. With the Magchuck as far in this direction as it is, you can't get here anyway. And I can see the little, it looks like they did this with a 1/2-inch end mill back and forth. Another thing, of course, to consider is the condition of the ways. I just can't do anything about that right now. And it's very possible that the ways will impart the wear and whatever direction that wear is onto any part I grind on this surface grinder as well. Again, nothing I can do about that now. Let's get these little buttons back on the plate now that we've dressed the plate, and I'll get them all to the same size first, and then we'll arrange them in various spots on the plate, and that will tell us what's high, what's low, or hopefully what's not different one spot from another. I've fed in 2/10, and let's see if I'm touching off on all of these parts now. Alright. That's good enough. I'm getting a couple of sparks on it. This is the smaller of the pieces, so that's good enough for me. Okay, so that's letter A. Moving right along to letter B. that's about it. Now it's time for the moment of truth. We're going to measure the gauge buttons and see what the trend is in them. I have this stack of gauge blocks here set to 0.636, and we'll check that the test indicator is on 0. Here's gauge A. Right on 0 to maybe half of a tenth under. Here's the gauge block stacked back. That's good, still on 0. Here's gauge B. And, oh, that's a big, that's all over the place. It gets as high as 1/10 under, but I don't really know if I can do anything with what gauge B is telling me. Let's bring the gauge block stack back. Okay, we're on 0 there. Gauge C, 2/10. Maybe going down half a tenth. Yeah. All right. Here's gauge D. 2/10 under to 1.5. 2/10 to, yeah. 2/10 to 1.5 under. Bring back the gauge blocks. Nice and easy. Here's gauge E. 3/10 under. Look. Yeah, 3/10 under. Pretty steadily. Overall, we're getting 3 10,000ths difference from the gauge button at one side of the Magchuck to the gauge button on the other side of the Magchuck. Based on what we measured over there at the surface plate, I say we have a good dress on this Magchuck. There's a drop of 3 10,000ths of an inch that we measured between the buttons at the extreme ends of this 18-inch Magchuck. That's not bad for a 70, 80-year-old machine with some serious wear in the tableways. And not bad for a locksmith. This machine is ready for work. I'll catch you later.